Good evening. Let me just tag a few people. Welcome if you're here already, or if you're watching on YouTube, welcome. Okay, I'm going to get started straight away. Apologies if you were waiting until 7 o'clock to watch this and wait for me to go live. I'm going to live a bit early tonight just because the girls are down, and as soon as I could get this video done, sooner I can have my bath. Actually started running it and then remembered I had to do this, so here I am. Say hello if you're joining. Hopefully I'm going to be able to see the comments because I didn't get to see them last time. Oh, hi Danielle. Thanks for joining. So, yeah, let's get started straight away then. So this video is called 3 of the best things to do when you're feeling overwhelmed. And I'll also introduce myself. I'm a solution-focused hypnotherapist. My name is Jenna Holloway. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, this video is originally intended for my free Facebook group. So if you'd like to come and join, the link will be in the description. The point of what I do every week in my group is to just share my knowledge about the brain. Because it has a massive impact. You know, if you watch the videos and implement my advice, you can really do things to help yourself feel less stressed or feel more calm or whatever it is that you're currently struggling. There's a reason that you're in this group. So yeah, a big warm welcome. So these 3 tips then, 3 of the best things to do when you're feeling overwhelmed. They're not going to be necessarily anything brand new to you, but it is probably going to be a really good reminder, and also potentially something that you really need to hear, because when you're feeling overwhelmed, naturally you can't really see the wood from the trees. You're just feeling overwhelmed, like, you know, that's the word. But if you're feeling overwhelmed, then you're going to be in your primitive brain. So just an explanation of what that is when your brain is in fight or flight mode. And your brain is designed for survival only. We've got the same brain now as we had when we were cavemen and women, and life was much more dangerous back then. So we've got the same brain, and we can very easily get stuck in survival mode, and be struggling with things that make us feel stressed, overwhelmed, unhappy, just stuck. And the reason for that is because you end up stuck in your primitive brain. So the more that you can learn about your brain from my content, or just, you know, learning about the brain in general, the better you are equipped to know what's going on and to know what to do to turn things around. Because the best part of your brain to operate from is what I call the intellectual mind. And when you are operating from your intellectual mind, that's when you have mental clarity and you have perspective and you feel in control of yourself and your life. You feel happier, you feel more confident. You're just basically the best version of yourself. And so that's where we want to be operating from, because we only need our primitive brain nowadays when there literally is a reason for us to have a big rush of adrenaline to get us through whatever sort of emergency or unexpected situation there is. Now, I say a big rush of adrenaline because that's actually what happens when you are in fight or flight mode in your primitive brain. Your brain is releasing adrenaline because it thinks that it needs to. And so, yeah, a lot of this will be, you know, stuff that you might never have heard before and quite sort of shocking to you. But this is why, if you're spending all day, every day in your primitive brain in survival mode, this is why you're going to be feeling exhausted, and potentially really tired at the end when you wake up in the morning, even though you slept all night long. You're just in survival mode too much, and we shouldn't be there. So hopefully some of my tips in this video and in others, if you want to go and watch them after, hopefully they help. But yeah, let's get started. So number 1 is to take some time for you. Okay, it seems like a really obvious point, but when you're feeling overwhelmed, it's often because you are feeling like you're being pulled in too many directions. Life is busy nowadays, and we have all sorts of different commitments, and often people struggle to say no and to prioritise themselves or prioritise yourself and your needs. So what you need to do then, if you're feeling overwhelmed, is really try and carve out some time for you. And this doesn't need to be a lot of time. This could be literally half an hour, but what happens very, very commonly nowadays is that we do have these pockets of time for ourselves, but we just spend the time scrolling mindlessly on social media or just on our phones, and it's not really quality me time. So, it could be getting an early night, messaging a friend and going for coffee, having a bath, or basically anything that you enjoy doing. Because what's going to be happening in your brain when you do that, when you take some time for you and do something like have a bath or whatever is, something that you enjoy, your brain is going to release feel-good chemicals that are going to lift you up into your intellectual mind. Not necessarily if you're really, really stuck in your primitive brain, but it's gonna have a benefit for you. If you can regularly take time for yourself, then that is really, really what's needed. It's termed as self-care nowadays, but self-care is not selfish, and it is not an optional extra. It's actually needed. We need to have time for ourselves, because when we practice self-care regularly and just do things like read a book or get an early night or have a bath or just do things for yourself, you're getting the feel-good chemicals that you need, that's going to help you feel less overwhelmed or less stressed. So number one, take some time for you. And quite often people think that they don't have time. I've seen this with a few clients now. They just don't think they have any time, and they're stuck in their primitive brain. They can't see the wood for the trees, and they're just sort of like, I don't have any time for me. And actually, a few sessions down the line, suddenly, because they know the benefit and they know how the brain works and they know the benefit of taking time for yourself, suddenly they're doing things all the time for themselves. They're just seeing the pockets of time in the day and utilising them rather than just going on your phone. So number one, take time for you. Number two is to shift your perception, because we actually have a choice about how we respond to things, and we can very, very easily get stuck getting stressed or annoyed or frustrated or upset by things that actually aren't worth getting upset about. You choose how you react to everything, and it's obviously much, much harder if you're in your primitive brain, because your stress bucket is full and it's very, very hard. But if you're in your intellectual mind, it's much easier. But regardless, you still choose how you respond to something. And so what I'm trying to say here is, any situation in life, literally any situation, is not positive or negative. It's neutral. What makes it positive or negative is how you choose to respond to it. You might not think that you're choosing, but you are. How you respond to any situation is down to you. So this takes hard work, but actually you can do it. Start with the easy things. Try to spin a situation around so that you actually look for the positive in it. And that's going to be much more helpful for you, because if you're constantly seeing the negative in the situation or constantly assuming the worst in a situation or somebody, then you're adding to your stress bucket needlessly and making things harder for yourself. The more full your stress bucket is, the more likely you are to be in your primitive brain and to feel exhausted or stressed or resort to coping mechanisms that you really don't want to, or not be able to control your actions or your reactions, in relationships, things like that. There's so many, there's so many effects of being in your primitive brain, but they affect you all day, every day. If you're stuck in your primitive brain, it's not a nice place to be. And so what a really big thing that you can do is to shift your perception. I remember reading a book actually years and years ago, which had quite an impact on me. I can't remember who it's by, but it's just called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And it's like a little pocket-sized book, and I just remember on each page there was just a different sort of a mini chapter, and I just remember finding it so helpful. So I don't know if any of you have read that, but it's a really, really good book. I've written down the keyword anxiety after this. It's good to be able to shift your perception if you can, but if you're struggling with something like anxiety, then you're feeling anxious and it's really, really hard. So if you're at a point where you're really stuck, for example, suffering with anxiety, then it's very hard, obviously, to shift your perception. this advice is mainly really kind of people who are just a little bit in their primitive brain, or could use this as a kind of good reminder. If you are really stuck, you might need some kind of little bit more help to get you out of your primitive brain, or out of being stuck. And that's where I come in if you choose, like if you want to work with me. But yeah, the problem with anxiety is that your brain can't tell the difference between real and imagination. And when you're struggling with anxiety, your brain is always going to the worst case scenario, like all day, every day. And when your brain can't tell the difference between real and imagination, what's happening is it's just firing out so much adrenaline, and that's going straight in your stress bucket. And every time you have a thought and you have a feeling, you automatically have chemical reactions in your body, so that, like, if in the positive way you get excited, you can feel that excitement, or if you're feeling anxious, you can feel like the physical symptoms of anxiety. So it is a very, very real problem. I've suffered with it in the past, and you know, a lot of my clients do as well. So yeah, I'm not kind of like trying to necessarily talk here to people who are really, really stuck, either struggling with anxiety or overthinking or anything like that, but hopefully these tips do help if you're not so stuck. Tip number 3 is assess your priorities and stop running around like a headless chicken. Because if you're overwhelmed because you're being pulled in too many directions, maybe it's because you're finding it hard to say no, and you actually need to practice putting yourself first. Or maybe it's just because you're just taking on too much. But actually assess your priorities. Assess what you want to do with your day and your weekend or your evenings, and decide to make some decisions. Like, this is your life, nobody else's. So if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're running around like a headless chicken because you've taken on too much, then if you can, do something about that. Assess your priorities and make some changes. Like, you have the power to change how things are for you, including if you're really, really stuck, you have the power to just send me a message and say, let's work together. Or get help in any other way. Like, you're always one decision away from changing your life. And if that is, for example, starting to say no to somebody who's always asking you to do stuff for them, like with never any kind of payback or anything like that, then or any type of situation, if you're feeling overwhelmed because you've taken on too much, then you have the power or the choice to do something about that. So yeah, just to recap then, 3 things. Take some time for yourself. It's really, really important. Like, carve it out. It's very easy to just sit in front of the TV or scroll through your phone all night long, but actually turn the TV off, put your phone down, do something that you actually want to do, like read a book or do a puzzle or have a bath. Those kind of things are going to give you the feel-good chemicals that you need in your mind to make you feel better. Or if you're dwelling on a problem or dwelling on something that somebody has done earlier on in the day that annoys you, then this you really do need to do something that you enjoy to get you out of the mindset of dwelling on that. Because dwelling on that thing that's bothering you is not going to help. In order to not dwell on something, you need to do something that takes your mind off it. And that at the same time is going to give you the feel-good chemicals you need to lift you up out of your primitive brain where you're not dwelling anymore. So my sessions have completely changed my mindset. This people-pleasing has stopped. Used to get stressed. Now I say no, I don't want to. Love it. Thank you so much for commenting that, Chris. It's really helpful for others to see, I imagine. But yeah, people-pleasing is a massive problem these days because it's all down to a shift in perception. Your life, and people will understand, you know, if you are honest with people and say, you know, treat your life as yours and your main priority is you, then people are going to understand that and respect that. As the simple example is last night, like, I normally do this video on a Thursday night, but I'd had a really busy day, had a brand photo shoot in the day, so I had to like squeeze in some clients in different areas, and then just happened to be that my partner had parents' evening, so I had to do the girls' bedtime, and it's just like, I just realised it's too much to do this video and then see my 2 clients as well, so it's fine, don't worry about it, like, just said no and do it tonight, it's not a problem. So yeah, practice shifting your perceptions, and assess your priorities. Stop the headless chicken behaviour and you'll be happier. Hope this has helped. Let me know if you've got any questions or any comments at all. Thank you so much for watching, And if you are on YouTube watching this and you want to find out where you can find more from me, if you're on Facebook, you can click the link to join Mindset Mastery, or if you're on Instagram, I'll put my my handle in there as well. So yeah, thank you for watching. Have a great weekend, or whenever you're watching this, have a great next few days. See you soon. Bye.